Welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I'm Chad Robert Morgan.
Hi.
This is my reluctant partner in crime, Alex.
Hi.
Oh, we're going to have one of those kind of episodes, are we?
Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
I'm busy. Okay.
You're busy smooching is what you're doing.
I have apple cider and I was busy smooching. Okay, dog. I'm not that one. No.
To start the show, I should have done this last week, but new year, new season. I wanted to talk about the purpose of the podcast, okay, and sort of the rules in play. So the reason we came up with the Indie Author Showcase is because we were at these conventions and we were seeing, especially WonderCon. WonderCon, we had rows and rows of indie authors, right? And they were all trying to do the same thing, which was get people to try out their books, right? That's all an author really wants is for somebody to read the book and to like it and come back for the next one, right? So we were working the floor. We were trying to get the authors to kind of work together so that way, because people have different genres that they like, different flavors. You know, some person likes sci-fi, some person likes fantasy, some person likes true crime, that kind of thing. And
50 Shades of Grey.
there was a flavor for that, but that's all right. So the goal was is to try to pair the audience member with um, the author, right? And that got us thinking. It says, well, what if we did this on a grander scale? Let's work together to try to promote indie authors, and hence the Indie Author Showcase was born.
Hmm?
Right? So to put it out there, we do not bring books on the podcast that at least one of us doesn't like.
Yeah.
Right? We've had a few times when we had a split decision, but at least one of us should like the book. Right? We do not bring a book on here just to tear it down.
I mean, I tried, but you didn't let me when I tried to do 50 Shades of Grey 3.
Anyway,
You didn't let me put.
that's not an indie book. First of all,
Oh, you didn't like it. Oh. Oh, you just did it because you don't like it, do you?
it's not an indie book.
You hate 50 Shades of Grey.
It's not an indie book. It doesn't belong on this podcast. Doesn't matter if I like it or not. It's not an indie book. It doesn't belong on this podcast.
Like, yes, go. You get piped down. I believe in you.
Anywho,
Anywho.
if we talk about a book on this podcast, it should be considered a recommendation,
Yeah.
right? We're not gonna have some crap book on here and go, oh man, this book sucks. Don't pick this book up. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna tear anybody down. So if it makes it to the podcast, it's already hit a certain quality bar, right? Um, One of the reasons I bring this up is last week we reviewed Scott Harper's book, and he commented on one of the posts saying like, "Pretty good, I'll take it." And I replied back, "Pretty good from my son is high praise," right? Like, I mean, and it wasn't even reluctant, pretty good. Just was like, "Oh, it's pretty good." And I was like, "No, it's pretty good." You know, that from you is like, not gonna like,
Dude, I'm not that bad.
um,
I don't think I'm that bad. You? I don't
the
think I'm that bad.
the point being is that when we are discussing a book, we are already discussing about a book that we are favoring positively. So, the bar is already kind of high.
Mhm.
Um, so if we say it's pretty good, we're talking about it's pretty good amongst what we consider to be good books to start with.
Right.
Okay, that's point one. Point two is we will discuss books that are not necessarily in our flavor, right? Um, and I say this because we do review like a lot of horror, for example, but that's because I do a lot of horror cons to promote my horror books. I don't write horror exclusively, but I do write horror. WonderCon is one of the few conventions we do where I can bring my other books out so they can find an audience. The point being is that if we just reviewed books we wanted to do, this would just be, you know, sci-fi, horror, stuff like that. And I don't think that's fair to those authors that are trying to promote other genres, right? This is not the indie horror book podcast. This is the indie author podcast. So we will tackle books that are not really in our wheelhouse. One example was the book by Cynthia Diamond that we reviewed. I was kind of reluctant because it was a paranormal romance, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to read a romance, but
Why?
because I'm not, I did not think I would enjoy
That's the
a
toxic
rom.
masculinity in you, buddy.
No, I just didn't.
Embrace your feminine side.
I
What would your inner feminist have to say about this?
fem, point
You hate
being,
feminism.
no, I just did not think I would enjoy a romance novel, paranormal or otherwise. But it turned out I actually enjoyed that book a lot more than I thought I would. Right? So when we do a review on the show,
You hate feminism.
I know when we do a review on the show, we try to avoid the whole like, 5 stars, thumbs up kind of thing because it is very subjective, right? A book, and we've had a couple times when there's a book that I thought was actually pretty good that you didn't like. Um, we what we talk about is less about trying to say what's good or bad about the book and more to inform the reader so he knows what's getting into. For example, let's go back to the Cynthia Diamond book. Um, it's paranormal romance, right? So now somebody watches the show, they hear about it, they kind of get an idea of what to expect, and they also realize that it got a little adult in certain situations. So somebody could sit there and say, okay, that's for me or that's not for me.
They bang.
About 3 times, if I remember right.
3 times.
Pretty exclusively. I mean,
Pretty exclusively.
not exclusively, but um, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like I'm an author or anything.
They bang.
Excessive, or explicitly. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Had a little senior moment there. Um,
They bang.
they do bang.
They
About 3 times.
bang.
Um, actually, that's another topic I want to get to in a minute. But let's finish this one up first.
Banging?
Yes, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, so there's only two. There's only two rules to get on the podcast, right? Well, three technically. One of us has to like the book, right? Again, if we get your book, we think it's horrible, we're not going to bring it on the podcast just to, tear you down. That's not what we do here. Secondly, it's got to be indie author or small press,
Hmm?
right? Stephen King doesn't need the help.
Wrong.
No, he does not need the help. We need his help, if anything else. Uh, Thirdly, and this is because you're still underage, although somebody just turned 17, just to let everybody know.
Yesterday. Happy
Um,
Hanukkah.
one more year until you're eligible for the draft.
One more
So,
year till I'm legal.
yes. With that said, one more year until we can review erotica because you're not legal. So,
Are you like looking forward to that?
no, I think it's going to be even more uncomfortable talking about that with my son. But that's another
Yeah,
story.
yeah. Don't do that.
So, but
Don't do that.
that is the podcast in a nutshell.
And
What are you doing?
I'm stopping them. Anyways, yeah.
So, with that said, I want to talk about something that came up recently. Um, we do review things that are out of our comfort zone because, again, if we just read things that were in our comfort zone,
We die.
we would not die, but this would be a pretty one note podcast, and it wouldn't be fair for those trying to write books that are not my cup of, my regular go-to things, right? Uh, for example, Julian Stone's "It's Alive," which I believe I gave Book of the Year to. Did I not?
Yeah.
Um, Historical fiction, not something I normally would have gravitated to, but I thought it was exceptional.
It was a straight banger for real, for real.
It was a very good book, and it was not a book that I would have. picked if I was choosing for myself, right? But I wanted to support a fellow indie author, and I learned something new, and I very enjoyed it. That's part of the point is to expose as many indie authors in many different genres as possible, as fairly as possible. With that said, we have reviewed a few books that have gotten pretty graphic sexually. We've had Murder Vibes from the Monsterverse.
Yes.
We've had Cynthia Diamond's Siren Song,
Gasp.
and we had Dicey Grinner's book, right? The Narcoleptic Vampire
Yeah.
series. Um, so I had speculated because you were not comfortable with the adult content in any of those books.
I just straight up didn't care.
Yeah.
They bang, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you actually skipped that section of the book, right? You're
Yeah,
like,
I didn't care.
So I was speculating. I said, if you were indicative of your generation, does that mean that these books are not going to find an audience as time moves on? Because, like, I had no problem with it, right? But eventually my generation is going to croak. We die, we get replaced by the younger generation. That's how life works.
Yeah.
Um, so as time moves on and guys like me shuffle our mortal coil, could you say that a little less optimistically?
Okay.
Um,
Let's go. So.
the question is I was wondering if that meant that these kind of books would struggle to find an audience in the future. Couple points on that. First of all, I was saying if you were indicative of your generation, you're speaking for your entire generation, no pressure.
I want to kill myself.
Don't say that.
Yeah. I hate my generation. Go. I'm so anti Gen Z.
Point being is that this is not like an exhaustive study. I'm working on a sample size of 1. Right?
But God, am I a sexy sample size? Sorry.
This much is true. But
Thank you.
But I did say if you were indicative of your generation, if is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, right? Um, so I say this because, like I said, we reviewed a few different. One of them sort of called us out on her podcast, saying like, "Well, he doesn't like it." That's so. Point being, because I don't want any bad blood, it was just kind of me thinking out loud at the time. Do not take anything I say seriously. It's not. It did get me thinking though, because I did do a little research, and statistically, your generation is just less interested in sex, right? You're having sex later. You're having less kids. I mean, it's just you're. Well, I mean, you're still kids yourself.
Why are we having the sex episode right now?
Well, because I got called out on it. Is the reason I'm saying.
Oh, so now we have to talk about the sex episode.
Yes.
The sex one.
Okay, but you see, the point I'm trying to get is it got me thinking about a couple things. One, maybe you are indicative of your generation because statistically, your generation's less interested in that kind of stuff. Okay. The other thing I thought about was sort of a counter argument to that because what I was also speculating was your lack of interest is due to the fact that it's ubiquitous, right? It is all over the place. Can you stop that? If you're double fisting, it means you have a problem. I'm just letting you know.
I love sparkling cider.
Uh-huh. So, if I'm right about your generation's lack of interest in sex because it's so ubiquitous, 19 states have a porn ban, right? In fact, right now it's being fought in the Supreme Court, right? So, in those areas, it's not so ubiquitous. They don't have access to it like we do here in California. My point being is maybe it's more regional, right? Like maybe those that are in states like California that have no such ban and it is more prevalent, the thrill's gone, right? It's like it's no big deal. It's all over. For those who are living in an area where they can't get access to it as easily, it's more explicit. Forbidden fruit is always more tempting. So all these thoughts are going through my head. And again, this is just me thinking, right? This is not an exhaustive study. I did not do any research papers. It's just don't get, too upset with me about it.
Google searched and called it a day. Good job, you
Pretty
white
much.
man.
Pretty much, yes.
White man, go, white man, go.
But one thing I did think that would be interesting though was what if we did a panel about this?
Or what?
A panel, like either on the podcast or even in like at a convention. Like if we had some of these authors, like Cynthia Diamond or Dicey Grinner or the guys from Diabolic, and ask them, this is, what do you think about this? Am I right? Am I wrong? Are you seeing a fall off in readership from younger readers, or are you not seeing it? Are you seeing a difference from state to state? I think it would actually be a very interesting conversation.
Right. I will not be present.
Don't give a shit.
I do not. I just straight up don't care.
But that's the point. You don't care.
Yeah, and counterpoint, I'm also a minor father. I cannot attend because I happen to be under the age of 18.
We were going to discuss sexuality. We weren't actually going to put on a show.
I know that. Well, we're not discussing sexuality, we're discussing sex. Big difference there.
Well, you discussed it in school. I don't think this is much better.
Sex?
You should.
Yeah.
You didn't have sex education?
Well, I just haven't taken health yet.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I just haven't yet.
Oh, is anything like what your sister went through? I said they tell you all kinds of. She did it in junior high school.
Oh yeah, no, I also did. You had to take 2.
Okay.
You had to take sex ed in, what was it?
Some of the things they taught her in that thing was backwards, though. I tell you that. I had to correct her on a lot of things. Like it was just I don't know. We may be in California, but we're in a very conservative area of California. Like you do realize that your school district and the local church share a name. That's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
So, but anywho, point being, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I thought it'd be interesting if we had a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm wrong, let them tell me I'm wrong. I'm been known to make mistakes once or twice.
You're known to be wrong all the time. You're never correct. Stop talking, please.
Oh, okay. We'll just shut this off then. No, we're done.
Let's go.
Okay. So.
Oh, we're continuing.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to finish the podcast because we owe it to the other indie authors. I just did this whole spiel about how I'm trying to support them. Remember that part of the conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that said, let's move on to discussing our next indie book.
What's with the pause? Why are we doing
Oh, I
this?
thought you were going to say it.
No, you're saying it.
That's not right.
My bad. Sorry. Okay.
No, that's the name of the book.
I'll leave that.
No, that's the name of the book.
You're racist.
Where do you get racist from
You
that?
hate Filipinos.
I do not. I married one. What, just one? I should be a polygamist to prove that I'm not racist?
Yes.
I don't think your mother would go for that.
Marry all Filipino women.
I don't think your mother would go for that.
Fine. Donate all your money to Filipino women.
What money? I'm broke.
Get money.
If I could do that, I would be broke.
Get money. Give it to Filipino women.
See how the circular logic is not working here?
Okay. No. Here's what you do. You get. You're racist. You're not listening to my ideas.
Where do you get racist from this?
Stop.
You stop. I'm trying to do a podcast.
Shush.
I'm trying
Let
to
me
do
speak.
I'm trying to do a book
Let the
review.
Filipinos speak. You're proving my
Okay,
point.
you go ahead. The longer you speak, the less kisses you're getting.
Good point.
Can we get back to the book review now?
Real quick. The
Okay.
reason you write your book is because you're contributing to a cycle. The cycle is you get money, you give it to Filipino women, but then you get broke because you give all the money to Filipino women.
By Filipino women, you mean your mother, maybe.
No! What does that prove?
Okay, it proves that I'm married.
It proves that it does not disprove that you're racist.
I don't see how you're getting from A to B on this one, but can we move on?
Yeah.
Can we do the book review, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think you people of certain races.
So, book review, that's not right.
We're not going over this again, man.
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. Don't tell me you don't get that reference. Oh, we are going to have a conversation later if you do not know your classic Abbott and Costello. Anyhow, that's not right by Scott Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we talked about Scott Meyer last year. This is his new book. He is probably one of my favorite indie authors because he is funny. And the audiobook, he teams up with Luke Daniels, who is an excellent audiobook narrator. I think the only team besides Scott Meyer and Luke Daniels that might be better would be Barry J. Hutchinson and Phil Thrawn. But Barry J. Hutchinson, I don't think does comedy anymore. He's too busy doing, I think, crime dramas as J.D. Kirk now. That's his pen name. So I think, unfortunately, that ship has sailed. But Luke Daniels, I think, is a phenomenal narrator. Scott Meyer, I think, is a very funny writer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this book is about a veteran radio show host who is doing a show basically about like mysteries of the unknown, like unsolved mysteries or In Search of, which is way before your time. In Search of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy. He used to do one of those things where like, was Bigfoot really spotted in these woods? Right, that kind of thing. So he gets teamed up with a young producer
Young producer. Ooh.
who basically got famous by taking a YouTube channel and turning it viral, right? So now this is her first real corporate job, right? And her job is to take his radio show, basically put it on YouTube, right? And kind of thing. So that's the basic plot of the book. What did you think of the book?
I thought it was funny.
What was when you say it's funny, what kind of stood out to you in terms of the humor? Like
Anti-conspiracy theories.
that I thought was the funniest part of the book.
Yeah.
Right. There's this one part where one of his frequent guests is like saying, "Well, I have a person who knows that all the conspiracy theories are false, but her theory of why all the conspiracy theories are false is because they're covering up other conspiracy theories."
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're a distraction. Like at one point she goes talking about like flat Earth. Obviously the Earth's not flat, but the flat Earth conspiracy is there to provide cover for the real conspiracy. It's the sun that's flat. you know, I think that was one of the few parts in the book where I was really laughing out loud. Like that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I thought was interesting was he wrote the book almost as a collection of short stories.
Yeah.
I say almost because they do. There is a through line going through the book, right? Um, but basically, each one of the quote unquote short stories is one of the episodes they're doing. So they would go and do an episode about some lizard man in Florida, and then they would do I'm trying to think what happened after the lizard man in Florida, because then they dealt with conspiracy theorist, like up in New England or something like that, and then they went to the the small Kano. That part was funny too with the small Kano with it. That was funny. Um, but yeah, each one is kind of written in its own short story. The only thing that saves it from just being an anthology is as she posts the previous video in the next short story, she's dealing with the fallout. So it is sequential, right? Um, I will say, as much as I like this book, and I did enjoy it, um, I do like Brute Force and some of the early Magic 2.0 books a little bit more. I thought it was very good in terms of his library. I thought it was kind of in the middle, right? Uh, Keep in mind, I think there's only been one book he wrote that I did not care for, and that was the one with the thief, the sci-fi thief. That one, I think, that was the only one of his books I just, and it wasn't bad. It just it I didn't jive with it. I couldn't find the I don't know, whatever it was. It just I did not click with that book. That's the only one he's written that I did not like. Um, so yeah, if you get a Scott Meyer book, it's going to be a good book, right? Um, so I would say this one would be in the middle of his catalog, right? Just my, what do you think? I mean, did you ever
Uh,
read the Magic 2.0 books?
I did almost all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
No, what?
did you ever read the Vex Generation, which I think was the last one?
No.
You might want to check the Vex Generation because that's the one where it deals with the guy's kids, right?
Hmm.
That one was a little trippy too because that had a bunch of timey-wimey BS, which of course the whole book has a lot of timey-wimey stuff in it.
Yeah. Anyways, book good.
Book good. Us do words well.
Yes.
Yes.
No, you pretty much said what I had to say. So I mean, I would just repeat the same sentiments, and that's lame. Like racism, lame. Pans over to you, you racist.
Oh, good Lord.
Anyways, with that being said, done.
Well, no. Okay, so let's wrap it up by talking about our convention schedule.
Go quick.
In 2 weeks,
2 weeks.
2 weeks, we have Creep IE.
What days?
That would be January 31st, February 1st, and February 2nd.
Okay, good. Go.
Okay, no, hold on. Back up. So, the people at Creep IE does a clever bit of marketing, in my opinion. They gave each vendor a unique promo code.
Mm-hmm.
And they
All of
said,
them?
all of them. Yeah, we're competing against every other vendor.
Wow.
And whose ever promo code is used the most gets a free booth for the next convention,
Wow.
right? Um, and I mean, if you think about it, that's smart because that encourages the vendors to do the marketing for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Go to the con, use my promo code, and so we're all competing with each other to do the best marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So they announced not the winner, but basically we're halftime in this game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they announced what the score was.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who is in the leader? Who's in the lead spot by a wide margin?
Uh,
Take a wild guess.
uh, 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 uh,
This shouldn't be
uh,
hard because I'm not giving you any options, but
uh,
us.
uh, uh,
It's us.
uh,
Spectral Inc. is in the front.
us.
Spectral Inc. Productions. By a large, almost 60 people to date have used our promo code. Second place is like something like 34. So we are way ahead of the competition.
Based.
Now, I want to take this with a grain of salt because we did this last time at Creep IE Aftermath, and when we hit the halfway mark, we were also in the lead. and then we got smoked. We got smoked big time. But I think at halftime, last time we did this, I think we only had something like 17 promo codes cashed in, right? And I don't think we got any more after that, right? I think we stayed stagnant, and I think we tied for third, if I remember right. Like somebody came up from behind and got like something like 30 promo codes in or something like that. So we're already almost at 60. So I'm feeling good, but I'm not resting on my laurels. We were in the lead last time, and somebody came up and lapped us. So if you want to go to Creep IE in 2 weeks, that's January 31st, February 1st, and February 2nd. I don't know why I'm doing this with the fingers because they're not lining up to any numbers here. Use promo code Spectral with a K.
Please.
It will help Spectral Inc. Productions. It will help the podcast.
It will help me.
So again, I don't know why it was Spectral with a K. I was actually kind of secretly afraid that it was a spelling error, but apparently that's the right code. So keep using it. That's Spektral. Spectral.
Please do it for us. Oh, years of friendship we've had. We've garnered throughout our lives. Think about that.
So after Creep IE, we have WonderCon in March.
Yeah.
That's was it March 21st to the 23rd, I think it is.
Yeah.
After that, we just got approved for a brand new con halfway to Halloween Festival in Riverside. That will be the beginning of May. Okay? It's an outdoor event in Riverside. Following that, at the end of May.
Sorry, I just think that's funny. I'm silly. I'm in my diva era.
At the end of May, we will have Monsterpalooza.
Joy.
Okay? So that's all the cons to date, although I would suspect to also be in Creep IE Aftermath and Son of Monsterpalooza. So that's 5 so far. And that's not even counting the ones I'm still trying to get into, like Texas Frightmare Weekend, Midsummer Scream, Creep It Real OC. But those are the ones that are so far. Oh, and we still have Vampire Weekend that I never heard back from, so I don't know what's going on with that. There's also the one in Modesto I'm still trying to get into. So we might be having a very busy year.
Enjoy. With that being said,
where can they find us?
SpectralInc.com.
ShopSpectralInc.com.
Where you can buy towels, sandals, shorts, shoes.
Yeah, there's actually a
dildos, pillows, blankets.
There's no dildos. You keep trying to sneak it in there. There's never going to be a dildo on my website.
Anyways,
and speaking of shoes, there is actually a pair of shoes on there that you designed.
Yes, we mention that every time. It's whatevs. Go fast.
You just want smooches from the girlfriend, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not being very subtle about this. I would like to imagine. I would like to imagine I'm actually throwing it out there pretty openly. I love my girlfriend.
Yes, she is cute. She's a very cute girlfriend. I can see why you want to go smooch her. She's very smoochable.
I'm not allowed to say that. I never want you to say that ever again.
I'm just looking at that face. I don't know why anyone wants to smooch that face with all the hair in the way.
Toodaloo. Bye. See ya. Nice knowing you. Bye. I'm gone. Toodaloo.